Alright, it looks like we're hot. Not sure if the bit rate's decent enough to even get this out. Uh, Cannabis 101. Um, basically, we have Latin converted over to English somewhere in the 1400 to 1600 period. And in that conversion, the words cannabis and hemp are both present. Marijuana is not. No form of it is. And that would be marijuana with a G, marijuana with an H, or marijuana with a J. None of those are present in the gate of the Latina tongue unlocked, and cannabis and hemp are. So, moving forward from there, we come forward to 1753. So let's call modern day, let's just say modern day cannabis begins in 1753 with Carl Linnaeus, or Carl von Linn, as he's known after his becoming a knight or whatever it is that he's titled as. So Carl Linnaeus identifies the of the species, or I'm sorry, of the plant Cannabinacea. He identifies the Cannabis sativa variety of that, and the dot L, Cannabis sativa dot L. The dot L stands for Linnaeus, and then you'll also see cannabis indica dot L, and the dot L stands for Lamarck. I think it's Jan Lamarck. I'm not sure where he's from, but anyway, and Lamarck is maybe in the 1760s or 1780s. Shortly thereafter, or after Linnaeus, he's identified a different, basically a different strain of genetics. I don't think they know at the time, but essentially, I think it has some new taxonomy or whatever the identifying characteristics. So it gets the name indica. Interestingly enough, for Indiana, the Italian name was Canepa, Indiana, and I see it spelled sometimes Canapa, and then Indiana, Indiana, or also Canepa, Canape, Indiana, for cannabis indica, and it appears that's is an Italian pronunciation or Italian version of the word cannabis indica. So, sativa provides a high, which is commonly known as a high, and indica provides what is commonly known as a couch lock. Both have their medicinal applications in that the sativa obviously provides some lift, let's call it, or uplifting characteristics or frequencies, and the couch lock provides some differing frequencies that pardon me, tend to have the subject want to rest, and then rest obviously being very medicinal. Either way, both sativa and indica will unlock the and I say unlock because I kind of learned my comprehension of it came in from a Dr. Frankel, and in his video, he I think he terms that the molecule, when it's decarboxylated, it's unlocked, which allows it to fit like a key into the receptor. So anyway, back to both sativa and indica have inactive compound for psychological action, and those require decarboxylation in order to actually they require curing fermentation, light, heat, and or light temperature and humidity controlled curing and fermentation in order to activate or to synthesize the precursors to the activation. So anyway, that's different details, but they both unlock the endogenous cannabinoid receptor system, or the ECRS, which then really allows the body to utilize its natural immune system and capacity to heal, and hence why the couch lock can be very healing, in that the much needed rest is generally probably forced upon the patient, where the patient has not chosen to take the rest themselves, and that action is a contributing factor to their sickness and their disease, because in the state that they're in, because it's running their frequencies down. So the below the line here we have ruderalis, and that then is ultimately identified as hemp. I'm going to probably get a lot of pushback from that, but this is kind of the modern day understanding that the ruderalis is probably a extension of sativa and indica, and then the third strain, and actually there's certain camps that speak of sativa and indica as being mixed up, but in effect, regardless, we have cannabis, cannabacea. So for now in America, it appears that the bulk of the genetics we're going to have are going to be sativa and indica. There is also, and then from sativa, we're going to have ruderalis, and the ruderalis is going to be effectively what we call a C dominant. And hang on a minute, let me figure out how to. There we go. So that's going to be C dominant, and then pardon me, the that's going to be that's the CBD precursor, and then we've got T dominant, which is our sativa and indica, and those are our THC precursors. So the dominant, the C dominant or the T dominant, is what dictates whether or not in America we're going to be calling this plant cannabis or hemp. If it's T dominant, which means that the plant produces the THC synthase, which is the precursor to the to the synthesis, which is the precursor to the byproduct of THC, then we're going to be calling it a T dominant, and we're going to call the C dominant hemp. the word marijuana is probably just going to go away because it really is. It's just a slang term, and it doesn't make any sense, because the technically, if you went into a lab and you had the proper equipment, you could take CBD and isomerize it and create. I'm not sure if you can get THC, if you can just get the precursors and then bring back forward and make THC. Again, if you had the right lab set up. So with that, then the technically, if you did the right things, you could make marijuana by legal definition out of ruderalis hemp that's C dominant. Same thing goes for cannabis, sativa, or indica. When they are non-enzymatically decarboxylated and the THC precursors are converted into the byproduct THC under heating, then that product in effect becomes what is known as marijuana. And so from a scientific chemistry and a genetic perspective, marijuana is, let's say outside of the legal definitions, marijuana really has a very narrow connotation, and that is that ultimately would have been in the day that it was only marijuana when it was used for recreation. And so even that sack of dried herb was still a food because there's the active THC's not there. Same thing for that dried herb being a medicinal compound, but medicinal cannabis, not medicinal marijuana, because the THC has not been activated in it. And so that's kind of the threshold where the reality lies, is that at the threshold of THC, then the whatever you have, plant material, becomes the marijuana slang. Short of that, or absent of the conversion into the active THC, and absent the intent, ultimately absent the known intent of pardon me, of the conversion. So if somebody's growing in their garden, then you don't know that they don't plan on making a salad out of it that night. It takes 10 or 12 weeks after harvest, in the proper conditions, to even cultivate the precursor that then must be non-enzymatically decarboxylated into the active compound. And that's when it's smoked, or it's then put in or it's I'm sorry, when it's extracted out into an oil or into a butter, and baked and used in that manner. So that final step is the only time when the THC becomes psychoactive, and that is really, by the letter of the law, what the law has spoken to for the last 50 years or 40 years, why it was acting. That is why it was acting. It was acting due to THC and the potential effects of THC. It was not acting for to keep some baby from using CBD to stop its seizures. It was not acting to stop someone from eating the sprouts or the greens or the microgreens or the leaves or the squeezing the juice out of it or making salad oil from it or salad dressing from it. It was intended to stop the conversion into THC. And so somehow somebody decided that, well, let's just take the whole crop of tomatoes and nobody's making ketchup from it, because when ketchup spoils for 6 or 12 weeks and it becomes toxic and someone might get intoxicated on it, even though, we know the outcome there. So anyway, that's it. That's our 101, with obviously a bit of in-depth on the other side. Not sure how this is going to turn out because this is the first try on this broadcast band. May not even have enough bandwidth. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.